Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with Dave Westcott. And I am CEO of several companies. And so we're here to talk about lead generation. And lead generation is one of those things that makes every single business run and makes every single business run efficiently. And so without lead generation, without new leads coming in, without new leads for business, we have no business. So one of the things I talk about here is the entrepreneurial journey. What does that look like? What happens on that entrepreneurial journey? And we talk about building $1 million business. That's kind of the co-tagline that we're involved with. And so one of the things that happens is if we don't have leads in our business, then we are going to have a problem. We are going to have a problem with sales. We are going to have a problem with cash flow. We are going to have a problem running our business. And so, one of the things that I see happen, and being in business for a long time, been through several economic downturns, the Great Depression of 2008, 2009. One of the things that I see happen is that business owners, when things start getting tight, when jobs start becoming less and less, what I see happening is I see them start to turn their leads down. It's like, oh my gosh, we're paying so much money for Angie's List, we better turn it off. Or we're paying so much money for Yelp, we better turn it down. We better turn it down. And what a lot of business owners do is they start removing the conduits or the lead generation services that are bringing business into their own business. And what happens when you do that? What happens when you stop advertising? What happens when leads stop coming in? Well, that's the beginning of the end, folks. Because if you stop the leads, if you stop seeing customers, you are in very, very bad shape. Like that is all bad. That is the end. There is no more, because what happens is now you're not getting in front of customers. And when you're not getting in front of customers, you're not selling jobs. In economic downturn, your close rate might change. You might go from selling 30% or 40% to 20 or 15%, but it's all a game of math. So one of the things that we talk about with lead generation is you got to know your numbers, but you got to know your numbers month after month. And so when we're looking at our numbers, we need to look at our numbers for January, for February, for March. And we need to see how many estimates did we run in that particular time? How many clients did we meet with? And then how many of those jobs closed? And we want to track what is the average close time for a job. We know that in residential construction, 70% of all customers are making that buying decision within about 24 hours. So we know we have a very short window to get in front of those customers. We know that we have a very short window to close that deal. Commercial clients are a little bit longer. It can be 3-4 weeks, for a one-off project. It can be 9 months if you're, chasing large Fortune 500 clients. So what is the close time frame? And then when you're in front of the customer, what does the close rate look like? And we've got to understand that close rate. We've got to have that close rate. And we've got to have all of that dialed in so that we can make good business decisions. Because without good data, we can't make good business decisions, right? So at the end of the day, what am I looking for? Well, I got to know my close rate. This is absolutely fundamentally critical, is I have to know and understand my close rate. Without a close rate, I'm in big trouble, right? I've got to have a close rate. So let's just take, for example, the National Association of Sales says that the average close rate is about 30%. So I liken that to 1 out of every 3 jobs is going to close. So I know that if I need to close X amount of dollars, I need to be in front of X amount of clients, right? And then what I need to know is I need to look at my average job size, right? Or my annual account value, right? So I need to understand these things so that one, like if I'm looking at like landscaping maintenance or snow plowing, what is the annual contract value for that particular client? How much are they going to bring in on an annual basis? That's the annual spend I'm looking at. Or if it's a one-time project, what is my average cost per one-time project? So now when I start to understand my average cost per client, right, per job that I'm going to sell, and now I know my close rate, now I know exactly how many clients I need to get in front of to close the amount of money that I need to pay my bills and make payroll and drive my business. So we just reverse engineer all of the math. That is what we are doing day in and day out. So lead generation. Okay. Now we've talked about the why I need lead generation, because if I don't have lead generation, I don't have a business. And if I don't put money into getting leads into my business, I'm not going to be in business, right? So that's absolutely fundamental, absolutely paramount, that we are on top of that. And so what we want to look at now is, where do the most leads come from? And so this becomes really important. So let's just say that we're talking about, residential construction for a minute, and, and what that looks like, or residential landscaping or residential snow removal. It doesn't matter what it is, but just what does that residential aspect look like? And so, what we've got is, we've got places like Angie's List, and we've got Home Advisor, or now Angie Ads, and we've got Yelp, and we've got Thumbtack, and we've got Porch, and we've got a slew of others, Judy's Book, Home Blue, whatever it might be. All of these places that say, hey, come sign up with me and pay a monthly fee, and I'll drive leads towards your business. And some of them, like Angie's Leads, like, we know the average spend on Angie's Leads is like $150 a lead. And so what we want to do is, we want to track every time we go out to Angie Leads, right? We want to go look at that, or Angie's List, or Yelp, or whatever it is. And we want to say, okay, this customer contact came in from Yelp. This customer contact came in from Angie Leads. This customer contact came in from Porch. And now we want to track that. And then at the end of the month, we want to say, okay, how many leads did we win from Porch? And how many leads did we win from Angie Leads? How many leads did we win from Yelp? How many jobs? What did they produce? And so I can tell you that, we haven't ran, residential work in our business for a long period of time. But when we did, what we would be able to say is, okay, we knew that Yelp leads converted 27% of the time. So 27% of the time that we went to see a Yelp lead, we would know that what that conversion rate was going to be. And then we also knew that the average value for a Yelp lead was around $17,000. Okay, so then we worked with this cool thing called House, and House was like a picture format program that, you post pictures on there and people search it, and they've got some, lead generation, and so they drive leads to you. And so what we found was that with House, that we would see maybe 4 leads a month, so maybe 1 lead a week. And then what we found out of that was that we had a 50% close rate. So we would close 50% of the business that we did out of House. And then we found that the average job size was $102,000. And so what we could figure was that we were making $204,000 a month off of House every single month. And then we looked at the spend that we spent with House, and it was like, okay, with House, we're spending $458 a month. And so what we understood was that, one, we weren't going to get a lot of leads from House, but the leads that we got from House were really, really high quality. And that was really, really important for us, because we knew that if we spent $458 a month, and who wouldn't spend $458 a month? We spent that every month, and that would generate those 4 leads. And so those 4 leads became really priorities. So when those leads came in, we had to say, okay, let's jump all over them, make sure we get to those customers quickly, because whatever process they've gone through, and houses like lots of pictures, so they're looking at tons and tons of pictures, and they're saying, okay, this is a great company, let's look at them, right? And so that's leads, right? So we know that that's 4 leads. We know what we can bank off of that, and we know what we're paying for that. And then we get to decide whether that's a good investment or not. And then we look at Yelp and we say, okay, what is happening on Yelp? Okay, it's a much lower cost per job. We're seeing much, much, much less on that particular lead conduit. And so, like, how important are those? Should we cut back spending on those? What if we could take that spend and drive more spend into house, right? What if we could spend $1,200 a month on house and get 12 leads instead of 4? What would that do for our revenue? Well, it turns out we looked into that. They didn't have that plan available, right? That's just their plan was $458. Okay, so what are we looking at? Okay, let's look at Angie's List, right? Okay, Angie's List had a really high close rate. So when we look at Angie's List, we're sitting at like 40%. So that means we're closing at a 40% close rate. The other thing that we learned about Angie's List is that we were closing at higher dollars. We were closing in the $30,000 range. So what we learned was that, okay, leads that came in from Angie's List were really, really important because now they're closing at a higher close rate and we are getting higher value out of those leads. And so that tracking of the leads makes us look at, okay, should we put more money into Angie's List and take money away from Yelp? But Yelp isn't very customer friendly, right, for the contractor, and so they're not exactly easy to work with. But we look at our spend and it's like, okay, well, Yelp's driving all of that for $600 a month. Okay, so maybe we want to keep that in place. So what we're doing with lead generation is we're understanding where the leads are coming from, where every single lead comes from. Does it come from a walk-in? Does it come from a call-in? Does it come from Google AdWords? One of the things that we know about Google and that we really love about Google is the more 5-star reviews that we are able to get on Google, the more that Google is going to drive business to our business. So one of the things that we found was that once we hit 15 to 20, and I'll just say in that range of 15 to 20 5-star reviews on any of the conduit platforms, whether it be Porch or Thumbtack or Home Advisor, which became Angie Leads, Angie's List, Yelp, Thumbtack, whatever. Once we hit that 15 to 20 5-star review rating, and we had that rating that sat somewhere between 4.8 and 5 stars, because you always get that one person who, hey, I'm going to leave a 4-star instead of a 5, whatever. But anytime you're in that 4.8 to 5 stars, what we found was that those lead conduits started pushing more leads to our business. And so we think about that and we think about why does that happen? So why are the reviews so important? So what we did was we said, hey, listen, every single time a lead comes in from Yelp and we go and run an estimate, we want to get the review from the Yelp customer or from the Angie's Lead customer or for the Angie's List customer. We want to drive that back to the source it came from. And so what happens is now you start ranking higher. Well, why is that? Why do they want to do that? Why would Yelp want to give you business if you have all 5 stars on your reviews or 4.9 or 4.8? Why do they want to do that? Well, I believe it's really simple because what we see is that Yelp wants brand loyalty, right? Yelp wants consumers to use Yelp. Yelp is committed to really showing what the negatives are for a contractor or for a restaurant or for a hair salon. It does not matter what your business is. Yelp can absolutely be your worst enemy. Now, I'll tell you the truth. When I do a project at my own home or a property that I may own, the only lead conduit service that I use is Yelp. I literally have a Yelp account and I literally will go in and I'll find the restaurant or I'll find the contractor or I will find whatever I need off of Yelp. The reason that I do that is because I know if somebody has 25-star reviews on Yelp, they worked really hard for that. Because I know that Yelp removes, 50 to 60% of all your good reviews. Even if they're legit, they're real, they're from the customers that came, their algorithm takes them down. And we also know that if you get a negative review on Yelp, even if it's fake, even if it's from a competitor, no matter what it is, they're not taking that down. And in fact, they're going to pump it to the top. And what they're trying to do is show the world where you failed. And so what I love about Yelp as a consumer is that when I go there, I'm going to see how this company responded. I'm going to say, did they respond to the review? I'm going to see how many 5-star reviews they had. I'm going to see how they go to business, because Yelp is going to put all the dirty laundry out there, right? So, like, that could be super devastating to a business. But what it does is it showcases the really good companies. And then I know who the best companies are to do work at my home. And what I have found is that if I find a company on Yelp, 99% of the time the work is going to be perfect. And I'll even pay higher money to use somebody off of Yelp. Like, they can charge me more because I trust that they've worked so hard at their reputation that I know they're going to deliver outstanding results, because it's so hard to build the reviews on that platform. And so I have a lot of respect for that. So what does that mean? What happens there? So, and it's the same with Angie's List. It's the same with Angie Leads. It's the same with all of them, right? What they want to do is showcase the companies with the highest reviews, because they know that the companies with the highest reviews are going to deliver the best customer experience, they're going to deliver the best customer service, and they're going to deliver the best quality of work. And Google, bringing that point back into it, is absolutely critical in this, because Google, right, they know where your geographical location is, they know exactly where you are. And what are they saying? They're saying, okay, we know where these guys are at, and now let's look at their reviews. Okay, they got 10 5-star reviews, they got 15 5-star reviews, they got 50 5-star reviews. What does Google want? Google wants people to come to Google. Google doesn't want them to go to Yelp. Google doesn't want them to go to Angie Leads. Google doesn't want them to go to all those places. Sure, those places may even advertise or rank on the Google pages, but Google wants to use Google, right? Yelp wants to use Yelp. HomeAdvisor or Angie Leads, they want to use those platforms. And so what happens? They're going to promote the best. So after we got, around 250 some reviews with a 4.9 star average, across all of these different platforms, what we found was that we could actually turn off the spend. We actually shut down all spending. And so what would happen is, like, from April to, let's call it, November, we didn't have to spend $1, because we really paid attention to our review platform. We really paid attention to what was happening. Does it mean we never got a negative review? No, absolutely. But then we worked with those customers, and we got those customers to remove those reviews by doing a good job or fixing their issue or whatever it might be. We really worked to protect that online reputation. And so what we know is that just by having those high star ratings, just by focusing that on the business, what we know is really simple. What we know is that those lead conduits, those platforms, are going to drive us business. And then what we would do is November to April, whatever, we would turn on, because that's the slow part of year for construction and everything like that. And so we'd pick up tons of leads there by paying for them. And so we would work that algorithm and would focus on more 5-star reviews, more 5-star reviews, more 5-star reviews. And that's really how we generated tons and tons of leads. And we generated tons of leads we didn't pay for. Okay, now I want to talk about referrals, because referrals are so important, right? And so what we understand is that our cost of acquisition per client is around $1,000. So how do we figure out our cost of acquisition? Well, we figure out, what does the lead cost us? How much time did the estimator spend on it? How many estimates do we lose to win one, right? Because we got to factor in that cost as well. What's our fuel cost? What's our time cost? What's collateral cost? All of those things. How many hours does it take? And then that's what we figure, okay, that's what it's going to cost us to win a job. So let's say we're doing a job in a residential neighborhood. So we're doing a job in a residential neighborhood. One of the things that we know is that everybody's like, oh, what's going on at Mr. Smith's house? What's happening over there? And so what we're able to do is we're able to use that property as a hub. And we say, okay, let's go introduce ourselves to 10 neighbors. Let's go knock on their doors. Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm doing some construction project over here at Miss Smith's house. This is what we're doing, and would you like to come over and take a look? Like, invite them to take a look at the project. Hey, yeah, look at this. It's pretty cool. Have you ever thought about doing something similar at your own place? I can see you got a lot of potential, so you're inviting them in. Well, hey, listen, if you have any questions, or you see anything you don't like, or if I can do anything at all for you, here's my card. Ring me up. And then we door flyer those 50 closest houses around that property. And then we make sure we've got a nice yard sign out front, and we've got a nice wrapped truck in the parking lot so that we're always advertising. Make sure that everything is clean and looking good on the property on a continual basis. And then what we're doing is we're wrapping up our job, and we're making sure it's world class. And we go to our customers and say, hey, do you think we deserve a 5-star review? And if they say yes, then we say, okay, great. Would you mind leaving us one? And if they say no, then we say, well, what could we do to have earned a 5-star review? Where did we fall short? So we're always learning. And a lot of times you can fix that right there on the spot, and you can make a little correction. And, oh, do you think we've earned that now? Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys have. Great. So let me just run through this referral packet. So what I want to do is I want to let you know that if any of your neighbors choose a job with us from your referral that's of similar size to yours, we'll give you $1,000 cash. The reason that we hand out $1,000 cash is because that's our cost of acquisition. But what we know is that referrals close at a 90% close rate. We know that day in and day out. And so what we know is that if neighbor Mrs. Smith goes to Mrs. Brown and says, the guys at Trans Blue or Bob's Landscaping or whoever you want it to be, they're absolutely incredible. They did an absolutely amazing job. You want to come look at my job? Take a look. What happens? Well, they've got immediate trust. And now you're immediately the only person to use. And so they sign up the job, you win another job in the neighborhood, and then you go back to that client that referred you and you give them $1,000 cash. And I can remember walking into a house, giving them $1,000 cash. She's like, oh my God, you really just gave me $1,000 cash. She's like, this is crazy. All I had to do is just refer you. I mean, you already did an amazing job, and now I'm getting $1,000 back. And literally her mind was just blown. And so this one gal, she just went to all her neighbors, and she was like, listen, this is the work they did. Come over, take a look, blah, 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 blah. She had a little party in her backyard, showed everybody the fireplace and the stamped concrete and the hot tub, and she showed them all that work. And she's like, yeah, man, listen, these guys are awesome. And boom, what do you know? $60,000 job shows up right down the street. $150,000 job shows up right down the street. $100,000 job shows up right down the street. And before you know it, you've done 10 or 12 jobs in the neighborhood. And sure, you've given this gal $10,000 or $12,000 in cash, but she's your sales force. And that's lead generation. That's referral-based lead generation. So how are you incentivizing your customer to say, hey, give me a referral? Pass my name along. Like, what's in it for me? Basically, I'm saying, hey, become part of my sales team, right? And so we win a job in a neighborhood, and now it's going to turn into 4 or 5 jobs. So what we call it is own the neighborhood. And out of every single job that we do in a neighborhood, we want to win 4 jobs, 4 additional jobs in that neighborhood. In 2021, which is the last time we did a residential job, first 6 months of the year, from January to June, we had 61 jobs closed from referral. 61 jobs closed where we didn't pay an advertising agency. 61 jobs where we weren't paying Google AdWords. 61 jobs where we weren't paying an Angie's List or a Yelp or a HomeAdvisor. 61 jobs that were driven to the business based on one thing, referrals. And sure, we're paying for those referrals. We're giving them that referral fee all day long. And I'll do it all day, every day, because I think it's the greatest way to turn people that you work for into your sales force, because they are so convincing and they got stake in the game. And it's enough that says, hey, listen, I can sell enough jobs to my neighbors. Man, I can take my family to Disneyland, right? They're excited about it. They are jazzed about it. They are ready to go. And so that becomes lead generation, and that drives hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into your business. We talk about building that $1 million business. How do I build that $1 million business? Well, it starts with referrals, and it starts with the cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition. What is your cost of acquisition per client? Do you know it? You should. What is your close rate? And what is your average job size? And when you know your close rate and you know your average job size and you know your cost of acquisition, now you know the numbers that are going to allow you to win the race. And that's what it's all about. This whole thing is a mathematical formula. All right, let's talk about commercial sales. So commercial sales, we want to know our client. Who is our ideal client? We want to target that person. Where do they hang out? What do they drive? Where do they shop? Who is that ideal customer? And then how do I get in front of them? Am I going to hit them on Facebook? Sure, probably. Am I going to hit them on Instagram? Sure, probably. Am I going to hit them on LinkedIn? Sure, probably. Am I going to call them? Am I going to email them? I'm going to learn about them. I'm going to try to be everywhere where they are, right? That's pounding the pavement. A lot of your commercial work is just going to come by pounding the pavement. B2B sales are a lot different than residential. So what do we got to do? We got to make sure that we understand exactly who the client is that we're targeting. It's not a random approach. It's not a shotgun approach. What it is, it's very strategic. It's very lined out. It's very detailed. Okay, I want to go after Bank of America. Okay, so if that's the target, if that's the plan, well, what do I need to do? Well, first I need to find out who are the facility managers, the sourcing managers, the chief operations officer, the regional facility managers, who are all of the people on the operations side. Then I should probably start finding them. I probably want to find them on LinkedIn. Connect. Probably want to start by sending them an email. I want to give them an email. Hey, how are you doing? Then I want to call them, and I want to email them, and I want to find them on Facebook, and maybe I want to stop by their office and say hello. Like, it's all about persistence. Commercial leads are all about persistence. It takes a lot more money. Listen, it takes a lot more money, and the cost of acquisition is so much higher for a commercial lead, especially something like a Bank of America that's going to take many, 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 many months to bring home. But there's a difference. Those contracts are worth millions of dollars. You know, your starting contracts are probably 2, 3, 4, 5 million versus your easy to hunt residential jobs, which are worth 35,000, 50,000, whatever they might be. So understanding the contract value is really important, because that plays into the time that you're going to take to close the deal. How much money are you going to invest to get the deal closed? How much money are you going to invest to bring this thing home? So you want to have that strategy. The other thing is that, you really need hunter killers on the commercial side. You need guys who can show up and close work, right? Number one thing that is not cool is not closing jobs, right? So your sales team, they need to be able to sell those jobs. They need to be able to drive those jobs home, because if they don't, then you've just put a lot of time into a real long sales cycle. So what do we need to understand? We need to understand budgets. We need to understand whether these are low bid opportunities. We need to understand every single thing about that RFP, that request for proposal that you may be participating in, or this initiative. Maybe it's not an RFP, maybe you're the only one. This initiative that they're going after. What are they looking at? How are they looking at the costs? And how are you positioning yourself to be the person who closes that work? So lead generation, listen, it's all over the place, right? But the one thing that I can tell you is have a plan. Write the plan down. Do not go at it from a shotgun approach. And then create a scorecard that says every single week I'm going to check these metrics. Because what we know is that if we have leads, they'll turn into estimates. Estimates will turn into wins. Wins will turn into money in the bank. And so you create your scorecard, you lay out your scorecard, and every single week you dive through that with your sales team. And if you don't have a sales team and it's just you, you go through that with yourself. How many leads did I bring in? When did I follow up with these customers? What's my close rate? What's my average contract value? Right? Those are the things that we need to understand. What's my job size? What's my spend per lead conduit? How much am I spending? What's my cost of acquisition per client? And how well do these things perform? Because what we know is that every single one of these lead generation services, whether it's a company that's going to manage your Google AdWords or do SEO, or it's Angie's List, like they're all going to sell you the best bill of goods they can possibly sell you. Why? Because they got salespeople who have to convince you to do the work. So, lead generation, know your numbers, have a written plan, and then be nimble and flexible so that you can change that plan. You do these things, boom, you're going to be able to build that $1 million business, and your entrepreneurial journey will be very successful. I'm Dave Westcott, CEO of Evergreen Brands. That's TransBlue, Condo Shield, TransBlue Franchise Company. If this was helpful, if this helped your business, if this helped you, give it a like, give it a share, give it a comment, follow it, enjoy it, and follow me on LinkedIn, David Westcott. Follow me on Facebook, David Westcott. And let's hang out, let's chat. If I can help you with any lead generation, jump on, hit me up, DM me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and let's chat, because it's all about building your business. It's all about you having a great opportunity and living a great life. And I'm all about sharing everything that I've learned over the years on this 19-year journey of being self-employed. And so I just encourage you to grind hard, work hard, but have a plan and have a written plan. And thanks, Brett Boggs, for jumping in. Thanks for being a part of our call. I'm glad that you discovered a lot on this call. Thanks for sharing and hanging out. Appreciate your time. And listen, like I said, give it a like, give it a share. Thanks for hanging out. And if you have any questions, or you want to talk about your lead generation, or you want to talk about my experiences with lead generation, because that's all I can do is share my experience from one business owner to another. I'm happy to do so. So listen, thanks for joining in. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great day.